race fans, Ryan Aho here, and the one and only Bert Lehman. Bert, how are things over in eastern Wisconsin? How you doing over there?
Excuse me, got a little bit of a cough. I'm still fighting. It's only been 4 weeks and I'm still fighting off whatever I'm fighting off, but no, things are going all right. Could use a little bit warmer weather. But luckily on Saturday, we didn't get a single flake of snow where I live, but 20 miles southeast of where I live, they got 20 inches of snow.
20 inches? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So what racetracks will be down in that direction?
Well, it's in the Fox Valley, so I don't know if Plymouth got hit.
141.
Yeah, right along 40, the 41 corridor, kind of along the lake shore.
Okay.
That portion got hit. So I don't know if Seymour got any of that, because Green Bay got about 14 inches of snow, and Seymour's only 15, 20 minutes away from Green Bay. So
wow, I'm glad we didn't get that at home. I think we got a couple inches, a little bit of rain. So I mean, I'm so looking forward, and I think everybody is, to this stuff just being completely done, right? And let's get to racing. Hopefully it dries fast. I don't think there's a lot of frost. The people I talk to, so like in our area, Wissota country, I think once it melts, right, I think the frost is going to come out pretty quick. So
yeah,
knock on wood.
It seems to be, we're having a slow melt here, and as it melts, it's kind of soaking into the ground right away. So hopefully that'll help.
That's a good sign.
With drying once all the snow is gone.
Yeah, that's a good sign. If that moisture is just sucking right in the ground, that means where you are, the frost is out, which is really good. That means that once it's gone, once it dries up, I think we'll get to racing sooner rather than later. Let's hope. So, excuse me, episode 170. So we're chipping away. We're getting closer to 200 here. But a big shout out here to Dirt Track Supply over in Watertown, South Dakota. I'm telling you, racing season right here. It is literally right around the corner. If you still need parts, if you need tires, from what I understand, Bert, Wissota Hoosiers are going to be available after April 1st. Not an April Fool's joke. Relax. Has nothing to do with it, right? I might have played something on Rapids last year. They weren't real happy with me, Bert. That's okay. They got over it. But tires sound like they're going to be available April 1st. Get a hold of your vendor. Get a hold of Dirt Track Supply, whether it's them, safety equipment. If you still need parts, whatever you need, that is absolutely your go-to for all things racing. Dirt Track Supply. Ron and Trevor do a great job over in Watertown, South Dakota. So, Bert, we got some pretty fun stuff this week on today's show. Minnesota mod driver crowned King of America. We'll get to that. Big news for us Minnesota people. That was pretty awesome down in Humboldt. Some race fan feedback. A little bit of cancel culture striking again. We'll talk about that. I'll let you talk a little bit more about that than me, probably. The posse continues to roll. Not that posse. We'll get to that just a little bit. Our picks, bold predictions, but first, how about a blast to the past, Bert? And before we get to a blast to the past, a little shout out, Impact Health Sharing. My better half, Bert, Brenda, she fell down the steps here about a month ago. Literally fell on the steps. Bad deal, right? And she ended up dislocating her shoulder, tore some stuff in her shoulder. Well, she unfortunately has some medical issues, so she's not eligible for Impact Health Sharing. She has traditional health insurance. I've had people ask me, well, it's health sharing that you have, Ryan. It's not health insurance. I'm a little skeptical. Bert, it's been a month, literally a month, and she still hasn't got results back from her MRI because the insurance company she had jacked her around so long that she couldn't even get in to get one. Unbelievable what these insurance companies do. If you're dealing with something like that, or if you're paying too much, or if you're just sick of spending so much money on health insurance, I might have a solution for you. Shoot me a text, 218-969-1380. See if I can help you out. Been able to help people save a lot of money. But Bert, regular traditional health insurance companies, they're for profit. You know what I mean? They're in business to make money. Impact Health Sharing is a non-profit, so there's no reason for them to jack you around and not pay your bill. So with that said, episode 170. Do you have any 170s?
I do not have any 170s.
How about 70? I have a good number here.
I have some.
All right. We're gonna let you go first, Bert. What do you got? Who do you got on? Let's do this. We haven't done this before. Let's kind of go back and forth. Right? You do one, I'll do one, you do one, I'll do one. So who do you have first on number 70?
Well, first I'm gonna start with a driver who actually still races, but he started with number 70, but he has a different number now. So
if he's what class is he in?
All of the above. He races IMCA modified, a dirt late model, and also an IMCA stock car.
At Shawano
And other area tracks in eastern Wisconsin.
Mike Mullen?
Yes.
Really? Good.
Yes.
That was just a guess. Mighty Mike Mullen started with a 70. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I'm assuming he went with number 70 because his dad is number 72. So I'm assuming it had, the numbers were close to each other. So I'm assuming it has something to do with that. I don't know that for sure, but that's my assumption.
All right. He's fun to watch. I enjoy what is it? What's the video guy over there? Is it Mike's Racing Videos? Is that who it is?
Yeah.
He does such a good job. Hopefully he does it again this year. And I've been able to watch a lot of races from Shawano. Mike Mullen's a stud. He can flat out wheel a race car. He's really fun to watch. So I'm going to go with a late model guy. I think he's from central Wisconsin. This is back in the 80s. He didn't have a big storied career. I remember just a short stint of this guy. Big guy. I think he passed a couple of years ago. If he hasn't, and I'm sorry, but from the people I talked to, it sounds like I think he did. Do you remember a guy by the name of Ron Goss?
No, I don't.
So if you're an Eau Claire area person, Rice Lake, central Wisconsin, if you have a little tidbit on Ron Goss, share it with us in the comments, text us, shoot us a message in Messenger. I personally would love to hear more about this guy. I remember he sold one of his cars to Tom Steiting, and Tom taped over the 0, and he ran it up at the Labor Day shootout in Hibbing, that very car, and had a 7 on it. Other than that, I don't know much about some pictures. Your turn. What do you got?
This driver, he raced IMCA modifieds, and then he switched to Wissota late model. It had to have been like in the early 2000s, I would say, when this took place. He actually bought a former Terry Casey late model, and that's what he raced. And his name is MJ Hintz. I don't know a lot about him. He did win at least one late model feature, which is, an accomplishment, to only race a few years in a late model and to win a feature. He may have won more than one, but he only raced a late model for a few years, and then he stepped away from racing, and that was that.
that was at Shawano. Is that where he won a feature?
Yes.
Shawano? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go to the super stock ranks here. I'm gonna kind of bring it back to Chisholm, Minnesota, my hometown, of course. And I remember the C70 of Chris Manor. So he ran in the super stock division. And then he had like a lot of us did, he kind of got into it with the people running Hibbing at the time and said, screw that place. And he started running down at Rice Lake on Saturdays for a couple of years. And, he had an auto shop for quite a while there up on the Iron Range, and married a friend of the family. I think he's married. I'm pretty sure they're married. But anyway, they changed the number of the car, Bert, from 70 to R. It was just an R, right? Like, what the hell is that? Why would you have an R on your car? Well, I asked that very question. His wife, Sherry, said, it's our car. Oh, all right. Okay. So basically, if you have a spouse, right, a significant other willing to fork money into your habit, let her help you pick the number because you're already winning. Okay. So that's what he did. Very, very good wisdom there by Chris Banner. You got any more?
Yeah, one final one. He's out Jerry Smith. He raced at Chino Speedway in I don't know if he raced in the 60s, but he definitely raced in the 70s. He's known as Medina Smith because that's the town that he came from. But he's in the Chino Speedway Hall of Fame. He was one of the top runners in the 1970s. He's won at least one track championship at Chino Speedway. So he's one of the top drivers in the history of the Speedway.
Okay. Awesome. So I have three more. I got two that'll be very brief, and then I got one that's kind of a cool story. But Rick Simpson. So Rick Simpson, the 70K, he was a super stock driver. I ran against him kind of in the mid 2000s. Strong runner, came down from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Ran against him in Superior, ran against him quite a bit in Proctor. And the Simpson family as a whole is very strong racing culture up in Thunder Bay. Of course, David Simpson, I believe he got second last year in the national title race for the Midwest Mods. That would, I believe, a nephew of his. But Rick Simpson actually ran the first year back for the Thunder City Speedway. He ran that last year in Thunder Bay. He's not running it this year. Rumor has it he's going to be back behind the wheel of a super stock again. So pretty excited to see him. Another guy I have, Bert, is a hobby stock guy from back in my roots. I started racing in 1990. One of the guys I raced against, Larry Mackey, friend of mine, Larry Sanders. Actually, he's with my cousin. He shot me over that. He says, "Don't forget about Larry." I'm like, I won't. Larry was a cool dude, and he passed. They've had a Larry Mackey memorial up at the Grand Rapids Speedway multiple times. But I remember him running. I think it was a 1970 Impala blue. He used to haul it to the racetrack, Bert, and this was still in the 90s. He literally hauled it backwards behind his tow truck to the racetrack. He would unhook it, and then he would actually help with the tow truck. If it wasn't a race of his, he'd be out there and help. So kind of a cool story. One of the nice guys of the sport, another guy gone way too soon. The Mackey family, very strong in Grand Rapids. Another one, so buddy mine, Lauren, he sends me over pretty much every week. He's like, "Hey, I got one for you. He sends me some stuff. And he sent me a name, Ken Strike. I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's not spelled that way, but I think that's how it's pronounced. But Ken Strike I think it was in a hobby stock. It might have been a different name for the class, Bert, back in the day. So this guy lived in, I think, Proctor. He worked at Budget Auto Repair in Proctor, right? So get this. He built a car, and this was when Lauren was a kid. So he's not quite as old as me, but he's dang close. All right. So that brings it back to how long ago this was. But this guy built a hobby stock and literally left the windows in it. And he drove it during the winter after the car was race ready. He drove it, right, kind of as a daily driver. And Lauren can remember this guy driving by in a race car. He'd be like, "That is the coolest thing ever." And then he took the windows out, went racing, and he said, yeah, the windows really weren't going to go back in it after the racing season. And his wife painted a big Garfield on the roof. But imagine that, right? Talk about promoting, right? How good of promoting is it when somebody builds a car and they're like, "I'm just going to use this as a daily driver until the season starts." I don't think you'd get by with that today, but that is super, super cool. And he has some pretty cool pictures that he sent as well.
Well, there are street legal late models and modifieds. Have you ever seen those on the road?
I haven't.
I mean, I have. Well, they used to have one on display at Cedar Lake, a street legal late model. But I've seen videos of street legal dirt late models and modifieds.
I had a guy, Bert, a friend of the family. He actually pitted for me for a little while, and they've recently, or in years past, moved away. But he come out to the shop, right? And I'm working on the car, and he's like, "Hey, you still got all your old bodies all back?" I said, "Yeah, most of them are back there." So he drives out back with his, I think it was a S10 or a Ford Ranger, some little truck, right? He's like, can I take some of them? I'm like, I don't care, whatever, not a big deal. So he grabbed some. I didn't think nothing of it. Next thing you know, there's a dude driving around, right, with like 71A riveted to the side of his pickup truck. I wish I had pictures of that. And if somebody, I'm gonna have to maybe get a hold of Todd. He might have pictures of that, but that was, at first I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? But then I think back, I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. I wish I would have been a little more excited about it at the time.
You probably wish you still had your door panels. You could probably sell them for $500 a piece like Bloomquist does.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. You might need a tetanus shot maybe for some of them. Like they have like a disclaimer, like if you buy this, you better be like have a tetanus shot and all that type of stuff. I do wish I had some of my old door panels. Actually, I do wish I had some. Another thing he mentioned about Ken here. So back in the day, I don't know if they did this in Shawano. I'm assuming they probably did because racetracks used to do all kinds of cool stuff. But they had a poster night for fans. So fans could literally make big posters, and then they actually had a contest. Who won the contest? Who had the big poster? And he actually sent me a picture of that. So if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, you're seeing it. If you're on the podcast, you might want to jump on. But it's just a picture of all the different fans with their posters at the track. Back when kids, right, there used to be a lot of kids at the racetrack. We got to get back to that. But kind of a cool story, kind of a throwback from Lawrence. So I appreciate that, buddy. Anything else on the 70s there before we jump on to the next topic here?
Nope, I don't have any others.
Well, the big race weekend for us Wissota people, Northern Midwest people, they had the King of America and the Battle at the Bull Ring. Humboldt's big event they have every single year in March. Mother Nature claimed one of the nights, but the fact is the big money, right? The King of America went back to the great state of Minnesota, Bert. Before I get into that, we'll shout out Brad Parson Ag Solutions. The snow's melting, right? Frost is going away. That means that crops are going to go in the ground, right? And if you're going to put crops in the ground, you're putting them in the ground because you're hoping to make money. You're hoping to have a plentiful harvest, right? When it's all said and done. Get the right chemicals, get the right products. He has all kinds of different stuff, right? He's got lots of stuff. Give him a call. It's 320-219-3542. Again, 320-219-3542. He has all kinds of data, all kinds of testing. This farming stuff over my head, right? Over my head. I like food, right? Farmers, thank a farmer if you like to eat, right? So the fact of the matter is, the right chemicals will give you the right results. And if you want better yields, better profitability, get a hold of Brad because he's had really, really good results over the last couple of years, primarily, right? Western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. He's got some great products out there, and I've heard great things about them. So get a hold of them for sure. So let's jump into Humboldt. Bert, did you get a chance to jump on to Race and Dirt and watch any of Humboldt?
I did not. I was going to, but I got busy doing other things, and I did not get to see any of the racing down there. I did see a picture of Terry.
We're going to talk.
Okay. I did see a picture of Terry Phillips being interviewed, and he was bundled up in a heavy jacket and a heavy stocking cap. So it must have been cold down there.
It was really warm, I guess, on practice night. Then it got cold and rainy, and it kind of cooled off pretty much everywhere over the last week. So it didn't really look pleasant. And the crowd kind of reflected that. I think the crowd was a little bit better on Saturday, but Thursday it was a ghost town in the grandstands. And, Race and Dirt had the coverage so you can stay warm and watch it. But so let's jump into this. So night number one, USMTS action. TP, Terry Phillips in his new Bloodline chassis, parked in Victory Lane, a little bit choked up in Victory Lane. Why? He decided earlier that day he's officially retiring from dirt late model racing. So essentially he graduated, right? He's moved up into the mods. Just kidding, late model guys. But I mean, he's had a great career. He won a couple crown jewels. He talked about he shoulda, like some of the coulda, woulda, shoulda type deals. But I tell you what, Terry Phillips has nothing to hang his head about. That guy's had an amazing career, and he still is, right? He's literally leading the USMTS points, and rumors have it that's a pretty big payday if you win that deal.
And I know we've talked about this on the show before, but how many different chassis brands are there for modifieds? Like 2,000?
Yeah, they're 872. I think is my last count. There's a bunch. So he had GRT forever, but Joe Garrison a couple years back, I don't remember how long ago it was, but Joe Garrison passed, right? And I don't know who's running the place now, but it sounds like it's not quite the same as when Joe ran it. So Terry decided to go do his own thing. I mean, he's pretty darn loyal for a long time, but you're right. I mean, there's offshoots of everything out there, right? I mean, heck, the guy that won in the Midwest Mod, I mean, he's got his own chassis, J2. But let's get back to the that's a good question. There's a bunch. There's a bunch for sure. As far as our area guys, Jake Tim was scheduled to start second row. Well, he did start second row. I don't know what happened. Maybe somebody knows. They can post in the comments. Go down in the YouTube comments. Did you see what happened?
I think he posted on Facebook that a belt came off. I can't remember what belt, but some sort of belt came off.
Might have been. I think they have belt driven oil pumps on those, but I think they do, but I'm not positive. So that might be the case because it shut off in an instant. He was second row and boom, coming to turn one, car shut off. Guy got into, I think Ebert got into him actually. So tough break for the point leader, Jake Tim. Ebert was strong. He battled kind of second, third the whole race. Bert, he ended up fourth in that one. TP won. Hughes second. Ryan Gustin, because there was no late model action, he got third. And the other top kind of, I would call him an area guy, not necessarily a WISSOTA guy, but Alex Williamson, 21st to 12th. So that's a good run for Alex. He actually won a USMTS race at Mod Wars, I think 2 years ago at Ogilvy. So he's a fun guy to watch on a limited budget. Night number 2 for the USMTS mods, 60 lap A main. Rain is coming in. Picture this. They didn't do any of the post-race stuff for the B mods. They didn't do their traditional 4-wide salute. Todd Staley said, we got to get the show on the road. We got 12 grand to win. It is literally a 60 lap feature. We got 25 minutes. We got to get this shit together and we got to go now, right? What a call. Bert, it started raining literally when they were doing post-race. Unbelievable. Great call by Todd Staley on that one.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's good to see them do that because, I mean, how many times have we been at a race where they, dick around and, the fans know the rain is coming and they just keep prolonging it. And then you get like 5 laps in and then the rain comes. So yeah, good job.
100
to push through.
Absolutely correct. I 100. I mean, he's doing a great job. That USMTS series, Bert, is unbelievable. The car counts are great. The payouts are great. There's a lot of buy-in. There's a lot of hype. I mean, Todd Staley's doing an awesome job with the USMTS series. So, big news for us though. Dan Ebert. I'm pumped for him. I've known Dan for a long time. Don't know him well, but I mean, I've had a lot of interactions with him. Every time we see each other, we're friendly. I'd call him a friend. I guess we don't really hang out or whatever, but really nice guy, good family, sharp guy. Bert 8th to 1st. It's not like, hey, I started in the front row, got it done, held on. Terry Phillips started on the front row, led a big chunk of that deal, roll in the middle, and here comes Dan Ebert on the bottom. The car just rotated so nice. He's in a Mullins chassis this year. Tanner Mullins builds him. He actually was in a lethal. Nothing wrong with the lethals, but this seems like it's fitting him well. He's kind of adapting very quickly. Ebert is the only guy right now in the USMTS that has not finished out of the top 10 yet. So it's a tight point battle. Terry Phillips leading the points. Dan Ebert is only 1 point behind him. So he's right there. So Ebert is strong. I said earlier in the year he's going to win 5 features, 1 down, 4 to go, keep on rolling in that 60. Jeremy Nelson was a WISSOTA guy. Last year ran USRA. He had a pretty solid run. He finished in the top 10, got 9th. Bert, a guy that literally has been, I'd say he's kind of been struggling here maybe the last couple of years, Rodney Sanders, 30th to 4th. 30th to 4th. That's impressive. That's
very impressive.
That's probably about the best I've seen that 20 car in a while. So they've been struggling with that MB a little bit. I don't know there might be more to it, but it looked good there, right? If there would have been a late caution, I'm not saying he would have won because Ebert was really, really good on the bottom, but he might have been up on the podium. So good run for Rodney Sanders. In the BMOD division, it was the K-Jack show, right? Chris Jackson dominated both nights. In our pick'ems, like everybody except, well, Carl picked Joe Chisholm. He didn't even show up. I called, basically I texted him, I'm like, where were you? He said, Carl picked me. I'm not even going to go because I might accidentally win. He might get points. I can't have that. All right. Just kidding, Carl. I don't think that's what happened. But yeah, Joe Chisholm, and I picked Rodine, and I think I jinxed him. Man, he had a rough week. But Chris Jackson got it done. Night number 1, the top WISSOTA guy, Zach Benson in the 17B. 16th to 9th, solid run for him. Rodine was actually running third, fourth, kind of battling there, pounded it into a lap car. A lap car broke going on the back straightaway, and he was kind of tucked in. They kind of went to the bottom, the guys he was racing with, and there's that car. He clipped him with the right rear, cut the tire, ripped all the deck tin and everything off. A tough break for Lucas Rodine. It was a nightmare. They call him the Nightmare. His weekend was a nightmare. He was the reigning champ. He won the battle at the Bull Ring last year. That was on Saturday. He was leading the heat. Caution comes out. I haven't talked to him. Not sure what broke, but the car shut off. Had to get pushed in. So then he had to start last in the B, and was just missed a transfer spot by a spot or two. But Rodine was fast. He was in the conversation, but just absolutely no luck. As I said, Chris Jackson won night 2. Top WISSOTA guy on night 2. Adam Brotherton, solid run for the Huron South Dakota driver, 17th to 9th. He's a perennial powerhouse in WISSOTA, pretty much always a top 5 in national points kind of guy. Looking for him to have a big year this year. But like I said, Terry Phillips, 1-point lead over Dan Ebert. And I like Terry Phillips. I'm an old school guy, but I got to be honest, I want that check to stay in Minnesota where it belongs. So keep on rolling, Dan Ebert in the 60. Fan feedback. Anything else on Humboldt before?
I just wanted
to. I know you don't watch much or whatever.
I just wanted to say one of the cool things was with the late model races getting called early. It was kind of fun watching Facebook to see if any late model drivers were going to be racing with the USMTS. I mean, you said Dustin was there, and RTJ was racing a Harris house car, correct?
Yeah, he got there. He's running one of the 21 cars, Kyle Brown's ride. He got there and he got second in the heat, and right away in the feature, I think he broke a tie rod, ended up DNFing in the feature, but it would have been fun to watch. And he actually said he's going to be running that car again a little bit more. So keep an eye on RTJ. He's going to be running a Harris car. That's pretty cool. So Bert, we got some fan feedback here this week. And before we do, little shout out to these guys right here, buyraceshirts.com. So race teams, I mean, we all like to have apparel, right? Got to showcase your sponsors, promote your brand, promote yourself. If you're getting race shirts, hoodies, hats, you name it, or if you're a series, a track, or just a business, or have a club or whatever, go to buyraceshirts.com. Jordan Tollickson and the crew do a fantastic job. They have great artwork. They have simple designs. They have, super fancy designs, whatever you want, and any price point. If you want just a few shirts or a lot, they can take care of you. Buyraceshirts.com. So Andy shot a message over, okay? And he had basically a question. He said, guys, thanks for some great content. It really helps the week go by fast when we have a show to listen to. Miss Puka, even though flat bill hats are dumb. I agree. We miss them too. And yes, flat bill hats are dumb. So we agree on that. So Andy's question was this. He said, the WISSOTA season is right around the corner. It's like we're literally couple weeks away from hopefully we get some April racing in, but the WISSOTA season is right close. He goes, it's who do you got for preseason WISSOTA national champions and maybe a dark horse to go with it? He goes, who do you guys got? And he said, I know it's tough to pick them right now because we don't even know who's racing for points or whatever. But if you had to pick right now, who would your picks be? So in the late, did you write down some picks for yourself, Bert?
I did not write down any picks, but I mean, obviously when we get to super stocks and modifieds, I have some drivers in mind as to who will win national points.
All right. Well, let's start with late models. Okay. Do you have a pick on the WISSOTA National Championship for late models?
It's got to be somebody from the Dakotas or Minnesota, because it can't be a Wisconsin driver because there's not enough tracks in Wisconsin to win a national
Well,
championship.
they did go to the top 20 shows this year only, right, in late models. So
Okay.
that's a little bit of a change. But I'll tell you who my pick is. Okay, my pick is Cole Searing. He won the Challenge Series last year, the national championship the year before. Did not run enough shows to win a national title in 2022, but with 20 shows, I would say this young gun is probably the top WISSOTA late model driver right now. I mean, AJ Demo, I would say, is clearly number one, but he runs like 4 times a year,
Right.
so that's kind of tough. But Cole Searing is a very, very good race car driver. My dark horse, I'm going to piss off my old pit guy, Jim, when I say this. It's kind of sacrilegious, maybe, for me to say this. My dark horse is Dave Moss. With Ogilvy making the transition, and they got several nights they're running late models on Saturday nights, he is going to be an absolute contender for a national championship in the late model. The 2 car is super fast. Any thoughts on the late model picks? You got a name you want to throw out there?
Is there Ellington?
Close. Shane Edgington.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
a name. Yeah.
All right, Shane. No hate mail for Bert. He's from Wisconsin. I mean, you don't know any better, right?
He's usually a top runner. And he usually races quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Shane's a good runner for sure. He's solid, and he's always in the hunt. He's been on the podium for the national championship several times. So a hungry racer, kind of one of the young guys. So Shane Edgington is your guy. How about the WISSOTA Modified division?
Well, I mean, you have to say TPO and Shane Sabraski are going to be battling it out like they usually do for the top spot.
Okay. All right. We'll go with that. I'm going to add one to the mix, and I think he's hungry. Johnny Broking.
That's who I figured you were going to say.
Yeah, he said that he's gonna run for it. Now, here's the deal. I talked to the TPO camp, not necessarily Tyler himself, but some TPO camp, and they said Johnny, not a championship caliber driver, ain't gonna get it done. I talked to some people in the Broking camp, and they said TPO ain't gonna win 3 in a row. Not with me racing for it. Bert, quite honestly, these two they're not friends. They don't like each other. This could be the best rivalry. And this is no disrespect to Shane, because if Shane's racing a modified, he's in the hot conversation, but everybody likes the guy, right? It's like, it's almost borderline annoying. Like, Shane, I love you, man. I love you, but good grief. Like we need to like fabricate some kind of a rivalry with Shane Sabraski, because everybody likes the guy. 45J, 1 TPO, they're like oil and water, Bert. This is going to be a great rivalry.
I mean, we spent the whole segment last week talking about rivalries and the need for them, because they add an extra element to racing that draws fans to the stands. And so, yeah, if you can get those two battling it out, it's good for racing. It's good for the tracks that they race at, and it's a win-win for the fans. Maybe not for them, but.
Yeah, it might be expensive for them. They both drive hard. I tell you what, the WISSOTA 100 last year, when you had those very 3, right? The 1 TPO, well, it was 33 TPO there, but you had Tyler Peterson, Shane Sabraski, Johnny Broking in a just absolute dogfight to win the WISSOTA 100. I think your national points chase in the WISSOTA Modifieds is going to be exactly the same thing all year long. Keep an eye. That is going to be the best battle all year. How about in the WISSOTA Super Stocks?
Well, and obviously the top guy that comes to mind is Shane Sabraski.
Never heard of her. Never heard of him. It's pretty tough to bet against the 7-8. I'm telling you what. Yeah, I mean, right now, and I'm telling you what, my dark horse pick in this deal is Dexton Cook. Okay, because Dexton is hungry. He wants a national championship. He was over 20 feature wins last year. I'm telling you, it's going to take 30, right? Because if Shane Zabrowski's in a super, you got to win 30 to be in the conversation. Dexton Cook is a guy that races all over the place. This could be a fun battle here, but until proven otherwise, in the super stock division right now, Shane Zabrowski is the man, period. End of discussion. Midwest Modifieds.
I'm not as familiar with Midwest Modified, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be.
That's all right. I got it from here. So in the Midwest Modified division, I'm going to go with the guy that won it this past year, Jake Smith. That's my pick. They race a lot, and I look right. He got a ton of grief. Like, oh, he's a cherry picker. He's racing against 6 cars. Well, when I come back and I'm doing my my power ranking shows here, they're starting up in about a week or so. I went through he won some special events last year. He won some bigger races. He did win a lot of races that had lower car counts, but he also won big races. And I think he was only 18 years old. So he's just a young guy. Tell you what, he's going to be hungry to go out there and do it again. The dark horse in this deal, Zach Benson. If not for bad luck, he'd have no luck. Super fast, very, very good race car driver. Had a couple years where he kind of started getting into a little bit of a rhythm. Boom, he'd break, and it would just kind of go to hell from there. So Jake Smith, my pick. Zach Benson, my dark horse. In the Wissota Street Stock division, sounds to me like your reigning champ's not going to race this year. Kyle Dykoff, nobody likes a quitter. He said, well, you quit. I'm like, they didn't like me to begin with. That's different, right? That's just it. He's like, well, they don't all like me either. I'm like, fair enough. All right. So Kyle Dykoff not going to win. Justin Vogel is my pick. Vogel has been absolutely the king of second place finishes. Last year he had more wins than he had the year before, but man, oh man, a guy that got a lot of seconds. Justin Vogel absolutely hungry to get his second Wissota National Championship. The dark horse, this is going to piss somebody off. Jeff Brower, I love you, man. Both your kids are super fast, but they're going to take wins away from each other. I hope one of them wins. I like both of them, okay? But my dark horse, Tucker Peterson. A kid from over in Joey Peterson. He runs a late model over there in Grand Forks. That's his dad. Tucker Peterson won a lot of races. Young kid, actually starting to get a little bit more of a rhythm. If he runs enough, I believe he's going to run every Friday and Saturday. Not sure what he's going to run beyond that, but that's another guy to keep an eye on. Mod 4 division. Dustin Holtquist is my pick to get that done. Him and Tommy Bowden are going to have a heck of a battle all year long for that top spot in the national title race. That's going to be fun to watch. In the pure stock division, I'm going to go with the guy that had a late surge last year. Tried to get it. I think he got either second or third. Josh Berg from over in the Bemidji area. That's my pick right now to win the Natty in the Wissota pure stock division. Corey Jorgensen's last year champ. Not sure if he's running a pure stock, but if he is, he's going to be in the conversation. And I'm going to give some love to the Hornets, Bert. I'm going to give some love to the Hornet guys, too. Justin Barsness from Grand Rapids, Minnesota. He won a lot of specials last year, won a lot of races. He's a young kid. That is my pick. The dark horse, another young kid from the area, Carter Matthews. So keep an eye. We got shows coming out here in about a week, maybe 2. The power rankings, where it's going to be follow the One to Go Show page, right, on YouTube. Start following the One to Go Show on YouTube, right? Because I'm going to do it.
And click like, as Puka would say. Like everything.
Like, share that, all that good stuff. Yes. Yep. And I'm going to be doing a weekly recap for all of these classes all year long, and doing power rankings, keeping people up to speed, what's going on in the regional race car world here, especially with Wissota. So I'm excited for that. So speaking of the area, it was kind of a car show weekend. Season's coming, car show time. I want to give a tip of the cap, big shout out, hats off to the crew over at the Red Cedar Speedway in Menominee, Wisconsin. every year, Bert, they do a bang up job. They have, I think it's at the hockey arena, but I'm not sure. It's right at the fairgrounds, I believe. But they have a car show, and they have all kinds of other activities along with the car show. And my buddy Dan was down there, and he was kind of digging, got a little bit of info for us. And first thing he sent me a picture of an 81 Ashley Anderson. I'm like, well, there's that Ashley Anderson. Them are small tires, super stock. Ashley Anderson's boys are getting into the super stock division. They're going to share a car to start with. And then once the other car's done, they're actually going to both have super stocks. So that'll be a third generation of Andersons out there. Super excited for that for all the people in the Menominee area. And he actually found out. So you ever wonder like how people got their number, right? You know, and he's like, how did you come up with 81? I did not know this, right? I did not know this. But, you know, he reported back. I think he talked to Jen, which is Ashley's wife. And sounds like Ashley had a brother that was tragically killed in a plane crash. And it was flight number 81. And that's how he ended up with the number 81. So that is, you know, it's just one of those things right there. How did you get your number? Well, that's, you know, a good memory there. It'd be not a good memory, but a good way to remember
Right.
brother, of course, you know. But it'd be interesting maybe have a sit down and just chat with Ashley and hear a little bit more about his brother, because obviously it was somebody special. But Ashley Anderson moving into a late model, selling the mod, moving into the late model. And I tell you what, it don't matter what he gets in, late model, modified, super stock, wheelbarrow, wagon, I don't care, right? The dude flat out wins races, and he will be competing for wins and winning races in that late model. Speaking of his kids that jumped into the supers, Bert, his boys, Hillman. So Ben Hillman, who jumped back into a super last year, thorn in the side of Jesse Radetsky, he actually sold the supers back to Ashley, got the jig back. He's jumping into a modified. First time in 50 years that a Hillman car is going to have a Chevy under the hood. Big Mopar guys, Bert, 50 years of racing. They've always had Mopars. So Chevys for the Hillman. His dad, Jan Hillman, was one of the great runners down in Menominee for a long time. Daniel Bargender, modified guy, right, Bert? Nope. Late model. New late model guy. Daniel Bargender, KME across the front of it. If you're from northern Minnesota, you know what that means. Bert, you're a late model guy. What does KME mean? It means that Pat Capella sponsors you with Capella Machine and Equipment. I think it's Machine Equipment. I think that's what it is. I hope I'm right. But KME, that's Pat Capella. He actually is a huge proponent of the 525 crate. Everybody's got their opinions, but he is sponsoring the Bargender ride, which means what? Daniel Bargender in an MB with a 525 crate under the hood. James Nitro G.O.A.T, his car was in the car show. That was not a 525 under the hood. From what I understand, I could be wrong on this, but the people that told me, they said that he has two cars. One's going to be the open car. He also has a Wasota car, KME on it. Sounds like he's also going to be running a 525. Maybe not all the time, but definitely some of the time. So interesting to see these 525 crates kind of making their way, but pretty cool stuff. They do a great job down in Menominee. There's not a lot of car shows to go on. I know that you were excited about a car show that you were going to this past weekend. You were going to have a booth there. How did it go?
Yeah, I was excited, and the car show was supposed to start at noon, so I got there at about 11 o'clock because I didn't have much to set up. Walked in the building, and there's like 4 people in the building. No race cars other than the ones that are normally in there. And I think, is there another part of this building? And so then I went to the Channel Speedway Facebook page, and it said that car show was canceled because of the fire chief of Clintonville. So okay, what's going on? And see,
I'm gonna ask you just a quick question, and I'm gonna let you go. Are there donkey awards to be awarded here? Do we have donkey awards coming out?
It's a situation where if everybody had it to do over again, everybody would do things differently. Let's put it that way. Clintonville, the city that the car show was supposed to be held in, is about 15, 20 minutes from Shawano. But Clintonville is, before I got a different job in 2017, I was the editor of the Clintonville Tribune Gazette newspaper. So I covered the city of Clintonville. And since I left as editor, I still cover the city of Clintonville on a part-time basis. So, since this happened in my city, let's say, I had to write a story about it. So I contacted the fire chief, I contacted the city administrator, I contacted Brad Lipke, the promoter from Shawano Speedway, and I left messages with the owner of the building that the car show was supposed to be held in. And basically what I found out, I mean, the story I wrote a 1,600-word story about what happened, and it's online. So I'll share the link in the messages once this show is posted. So if other people want to, it's been shared 24 times already. I mean, race fans are just passionate. And but basically what I found out was the fire chief said he did not cancel the show. And basically what Brad Lipke told me was that, he's been planning this show for weeks, but he was dealing directly with the owner of the building. And the owner of the building, as we found out, has been having some issues. Well, let's reverse that. The city has been having some issues with the owner of the building. Because the building is an old Shopko building. Shopko filed bankruptcy several years ago, so they had all these vacant buildings. And the owner of the building bought the building on a lease to own basis, but he's like building a little mini mall type thing inside the building. And it's because he's building that, there's different fire codes and building codes, because there was a car show held in this building last year at this time. And that was one of my questions I had for the city administrator is, what's changed since last year? There was a car show in that building last year. What's changed to this year? And she said that now that there's businesses inside the building, there are different fire codes and building codes that have to be followed. And that building does not meet those codes for a car show to be held inside the building. So, I mean, Brad told me that, if he would have known that there's an issue with codes and, building codes, fire codes, he would have never, even attempted to plan a car show in the building. But, he was dealing directly with the owner of the building. The city was expressing their concerns to the owner of the building, but none of the messages were going from the city to Brad and from Brad to the city. So ultimately, the owner of the building, he used to race on dirt. Now he actually races like BMW cars, and he races all over the world, actually. So, he wasn't trying. I think ultimately, he was trying to do a good thing and help promote racing, help bring people to Clintonville, to his building. And I don't think that he thought the city was going to put the clamps down like they did. And but they did. And Brad said he had to cancel it, once, because the city said that they could hold the car show, but all the cars had to be outside. Well, it was 40 degrees outside, and it was, only like 40 minutes away, they got 20 inches of snow. So, you can't, and that's the unfortunate thing too, is, some of the drivers that were going to set up there, since it was only canceled like 2 hours before the show was supposed to start, they already were on their way, and they were driving through a snowstorm to get to the building. And, Brad said he felt bad about that. Because the drivers were willing to spend the day there. And there's a lot of buzz about about the show, and I think it would have been very, very well attended, but it wasn't meant to be.
On the outside looking in, and I don't know the first thing about all the details. The fire, in my opinion, right? The fire chief, I mean, come on, guy, right? I mean, like, it's a car show. Like, I get, if he's really worried about it, make a rule that they got to drain the fuel cells and have no gas. Right? Not a big deal.
Well, and,
You know?
and actually, that's what the owner of the building did tell Brad was, you can't have any fuel in your fuel cells. You have to duct tape the caps onto the fuel cell, and you have to disconnect your batteries. But apparently that wasn't good enough. So, but I mean, it was, the city building inspector was involved, the state building inspector was involved, and I mean, it was a big deal. And I mean, Facebook just completely blew up after that happened, and it's unfortunate. There's a chance there may still be a Shawano Speedway Fan Fest held this year, but it would be held. Brad's talking to Shawano County if they can use the Crawford Center, which is actually located right behind the racetrack. It's a building that they have hockey events in it, but the hockey season's over now, so the hockey club isn't using the building anymore. So maybe they'll be able to have Fan Fest in that building. So we'll see.
Is there still a shopping mall? Is there still a shopping mall in Shawano?
Well, not a mall in a typical sense. I mean, back probably 10 to 15 years, Shawano Speedway used to have a car show at Bay Park Square Mall in Green Bay. I mean, they would park the cars throughout the shopping mall in Green Bay, and that was actually Brad's inspiration for doing a Fan Fest. Was he remembered when the car show was held at that shopping mall.
I remember the old shopping mall, car shows in Hibbing. Those were great, and I actually like those better than having like a separate location, because you're going to get people aware of racing that really had no intent of like going to a race car show, right? They're going to the mall, which they're really, thank God it wasn't in the Duluth Mall. I mean, that would have been a bad thing, right?
And that's what's unfortunate about this situation too is, I mean, where Clintonville is located, drivers and fans from the Fox, I mean, where the Fox Valley is. Drivers and fans from the Fox Valley, Hortonville, New London areas, they have to drive right through downtown Clintonville every weekend to get to Shawano. So, it would have been a great publicity for the city of Clintonville if this could have happened. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. And like I said, if everybody involved in the situation had it to do over again, things would have been done differently, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure Brad would have dealt directly with the city. Hopefully the city would have contacted Brad directly, and the building owner would have been more proactive in some things. But like I said, I think the building owner was trying to do a good thing and let them do the car show there, but actually by everything that happened, it's really brought a lot of attention to his building now, and not good attention. So I know he did, I'm sure he didn't intend for all of this to happen. Like I said, I think he was trying to do a good thing, help promote racing, help promote Clintonville, and it kind of backfired on him.
All right, so I got it written down here. Bert said the fire chief's a jackass. I'm just kidding. He didn't say that. Come on now. I'm kidding. All right, that's an unfortunate situation. I feel Brad probably was, he worked with the guy. He had no idea. I mean, I'm sure nobody talked to the fire chief, and that's on the building owner, but I guess it is what it is. You learn from those experiences and move on. So,
I mean,
speaking of moving, But
the fire chief, I called him Saturday afternoon once everything started blowing up on Facebook. Well, actually, I didn't call him. I left him a Facebook message, and he called me within like 30 seconds of me sending that message. So, no, I mean, I've dealt with the fire chief before, and he's always good at getting me information and stuff. So, I appreciate that, and he told me he did not shut the show down, and but I mean, the fire department was involved in, they inspected. Supposedly, the fire department and the building inspector did an on-site visit to inspect the building. That was on the 23rd, 2 days prior, and 2 days prior, they told the building owner via phone and the office or the business manager in person that the cars had to be outside. And, this was 2 days before the show, but Brad didn't find that out until Saturday morning. So I mean, like
so
Brad
you
said,
don't have to.
there was a lot of miscommunication.
Yeah, you don't have to, Bert, but I am going to give a donkey award to the owner of that building because, like, he knew what he was supposed to do, and I get it. He probably felt bad or whatever, but my goodness, guy, get a hold of Brad and at least let him know what's going on. I mean, that was a bad. It made Brad look. I don't think it made Brad look bad. It kind of did at the beginning, but I think a lot of people realized that had nothing to do with Brad. So let's move on here. The posse stays hot, right? Before we get to that, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. Bert, there's literally one thing that connects a race car to the racetrack that's called tires. Tires are what wins a race. The problem is tires are your highest weekly expense. There might be a solution. So the founder of this company, Bert, he's actually in the NASA Hall of Fame for lubricants. The guy knows, he's very smart. Environmentally friendly lubricants. I've heard people saying, "Oh man, all them any tire treatment stuff and all that, it's all cancerous, it's all terrible." Not this stuff. This stuff is actually been tested. It's environmentally safe. Okay, so if you're wondering about that, they got some great products. Okay, but the solution is what? How do we make our tires last just a little bit longer? Right? I'm not saying you're going to run a tire 12 nights, but if you typically run a tire 2 nights, is it fair to say it would be better for racing if you could run it 3 or 4 nights? Would that be better? Yes or yes? I'm going to go with yes. Okay. Well, a solution to that, Bert, is being able to treat those tires so they last longer, not softener, treat them. So when tires are constructed, they actually are in a mold. They have to spray a release agent in the mold. That gets into the rubber, that causes problems, causes them to glaze over, causes all kinds of issues. The first thing they have is a product called Aqua. What does that do? Cleans the tire, gets all that crap that's not supposed to be in the tire out of the tire, okay? Makes your tire perform better, makes it not glaze over. Great product. The next product is they have 3 different products, right? Depends on which one you want to use, but they have a treatment product that actually, when you treat the tire, is putting stuff back into the rubber, filling those voids when you took off the wax, right? It's filling those voids with stuff that's supposed to be in it to make the tire more consistent. Now, the benefit to this in its use, the crate late models, Bert, over in Fergus Falls and a couple other tracks, they allow this. This is a perfectly allowed deal. They run it every week. So the promoter, Don Shaw promotes over at I-94. I don't know that it's allowed in the treatment's not allowed in the Wasota cars, but he allows it in the crate cars. So he's familiar with the product. And the fact is, it works. There's drivers running their tires twice as long or 3 times as long because they have to use used tires in that class. And you can feel the tires, you durometer them, and it makes the tires more lively, more elastic, makes them better longer. Right now, with a Wasota tire or any tire, if you run it once or twice, it's hard to get that thing to refire over and over. That's what this product is. Okay. Now, where can you get these products? The cleaning product, the treatment? Well, you can get them from Dirt Track Supply. They're going to have these products. Get a hold of Trevor. He has these products on hand. TRE over in Alexandria has them. Or if you want to be more discreet, right? If you're like, you know what, I don't care if it's legal or not. I'm not condoning cheating. But if you're like, I literally cannot buy new tires every night. I can't do it. And you're like, screw it. I'm just going to run it, whatever. And you want to be discreet, just call Chad directly. 507-828-3536. Call him. And if you're curious about it, he will educate you on what it's all about, what these products can do. They have a lot more products, Bert. They got some stuff for engine builders. Frank Zuli's race engines. They got some graphene stuff, so we'll get into that at another time here. But there's a lot of stuff that they have, not just the tire treatment stuff, but Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants, your solution to reducing the cost of weekly racing. I think it's a great deal. Now, the posse stays hot, Bert. When you think posse, what state do you think?
Well, obviously you think of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so the PA posse, right? Well, that's been replaced. Now we got the CA posse. They won 4 of the last 5 World of Outlaw sprint car races. Talladega Short Track this past Friday night. Buddy Kofoid, his second career World of Outlaw win. He's won a lot of sprint car races, non-wing stuff, midget, you name it. Buddy Kofoid, young dude, and he got her done at Talladega. And at Magnolia, the big cat, Brad Sweet, 80th career feature win, 4th fastest to hit the 80 mark. Both those drivers, California drivers. Bert, did you watch any of those races?
Yeah, I watched. I saw the highlights that the World of Outlaws put on YouTube. It looked like some pretty good racing, close racing. Donnie Schatz was a little racy in those races too. He was racing near the front.
Yeah, he was. I'd love to see Schatz park that thing in victory lane a little bit more often, but some of these young guys are maybe a little bit more. I don't want to say he's not brave, but some of these he is probably a little bit more safe. Let's just put it that way. He's not quite as on the chip as he used to be back in the day, but he's still one of the best. One thing that stuck out to me, Bert, so at Magnolia, caution comes out. Brad Sweet's leading. David Gravel pulls up next to him on the outside, and he's kind of looking at the track. And Johnny Gibson said, David Gravel letting Brad Sweet let him know who's behind him. I'm like, oh man, that reminds me of me. He's up there kind of playing head games with them a little bit. So Bert, this is, in my opinion, this is going to be the battle. Brad Sweet has 4 straight World of Outlaw championships right now, looking to get number 5. David Gravel, he got second last year. He's looking to get his first, okay? Brad Sweet's hungry. He wants to win another one. He's still hungry. I'm telling you what, David Gravel is straight up focused. I mean, the conversations they have, all the interviews, you can just see it in him. Like, he is absolutely on a mission right now. That is going to be a fun battle between Brad Sweet and David Gravel this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we both picked Gravel to win the championship, and actually one of my bold predictions is that Brad Sweet is going to finish 3rd in the standings, because I think Carson Macedo is going to be up there too this season, challenging for top spots. Remember, I mean, Carson Macedo was up there last year, and then I can't remember what it was for, but he got docked like 100 points or something, which really set him back. So, right. Because without getting docked 100 points, I mean, he would have been right up there also last year. So I think he's gonna have a say in this battle also.
Absolutely. Jeff shot me over a video, and he said, did you happen to watch the 602 late model feature? Because that was a support class, right? And I'm like, well, I didn't. He goes, you need to watch that. So I watched it, and I got to give a, like, what are you doing, right? Come on. What are you doing? I'll give a donkey award to this guy. So Callahan's his last name, right? Only 12 cars, 602 crates. I mean, pretty expensive starter class. So this guy's running second, Bert. Middle of the front straightaway, he fences it. Not hard, but enough to screw him up, and he falls back to fourth, right? So he got way out of shape. So it's not bad enough that, okay, I hit the wall in the front straightaway. I kind of like, let's just gather ourselves. He's discombobulated through 1 and 2, comes on the back straightaway, drives into the right rear of the third place car, and sends that dude for a ride. It's like, do you not know how to lift or what the brake pedal is? It's like, what is this thing here? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So, drivers, if you clip the wall in the front straightaway and you dump a guy and roll him over in the back straightaway because you still haven't gathered yourself, get it together. Come on now. Like, what are we doing here? So that was a pretty violent roll. The driver was okay. So that was good, but it was, I think 6 cars or whatever finished or whatever. I mean, 602 crates, they tear some shit up. Let's just be honest. They know how to tear stuff up for sure. So weekly pick'ems, Bert. Before we get into the pick'ems, it's March, right? March Madness, right? Final Four coming up. Did you do a bracket? Were you on any brackets this year?
I did not do a bracket this year, and I'm glad that I didn't, because I found that when I don't do brackets, I enjoy watching the games better, because I can cheer for whoever I want to cheer for rather than hoping that the team I picked wins.
Yeah, not a basketball show, but the there's no top 3 seeds, like first, second, third seeds. None of them made the Final Four. So I did a bracket. Jeff actually sent those we were kind of debating back and forth. He's like, Ryan's just pissy because Kansas lost, because I think I might have picked them to go all the way, right? Well, it turns out, Bert, I won the bracket. We're not even to the Final Four yet. I won the bracket. Haven't watched the game. I literally had no clue what I was doing. I won the bracket. So, Jeff, I'm not mad anymore, bro. I'm just saying. Okay. So, our weekly pick'ems for racing, though, got to give a little love. Jeff's leading now. We got a new leader, right? Jeff is up front. I don't know if he's pencil screwing us. I'm not really sure, but Jeff is up front. He's at 35. Kurt's at 33. Mike's at 30. He got by me. I'm at 28. Kent's at 27. Brad and Dan at 26. Bert's at 20, which I like you back there. Just stay there. Carl's at 14. Carl's got a little work to do here. He's going to have to try to get out of the cellar. This week, we're picking both days of the Illini 100 World of Outlaw late model at Farmer City. We're going to pick 3 days of USMTS action down at the Arklatex Speedway, and 2 nights of World of Outlaw sprint car action at Mesquite, Texas Devil's Bowl. So, Bert, stay put. Like, you already won 2 years in a row. You don't need to Brad Sweet us and win 4 in a row or anything like that. Okay, so we're having a little fun with that. So Jeff is our leader. A little love to Jeff. Okay, so the last lap, Bert, brought to you by our friends over at Zuli's Race Engines. WISSOTA season is right around the corner. What does that mean? That means that his Facebook page is going to be running wild. Running wild with what? Winners. Why? Because that's what they do. You put a Zuli's Race Engine underneath the hood, it's going to increase your chances of winning. Is it going to make you win? No, you still have to drive the car. But it will increase your chances of not only winning races, but winning championships, because the performance and the durability are both there. The proof's in the pudding. If you can't beat them, join them, Zuli's Race Engines. So I got to give myself a donkey award, Bert. Last week we were talking about rivalries and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, JD won at Mississippi Thunder and didn't have any fans. JD did not win. Mike corrected me. Mike Marlar won the finale at Mississippi Thunder at the Dairyland Showdown last year. So get it right, guy. Like, what are you doing here? Okay. With that said, over in Eastern Wisconsin, little news over there. Jaden Schmidt, what's going on there?
Yeah, in Eastern Wisconsin, we're not as lucky as you guys in Western Wisconsin and Minnesota, where it seems like there's a new late model driver announced every week during the off season. So when we have a new late model driver, we have to we get really, really excited. Jaden Schmidt posted on Facebook this week pictures of a late model that he will be racing this summer. it sounds like he's going to follow the Dirt Kings tour, and I'm sure he'll race some weekly. I don't know if he's going to race every week at Shawano, but I'm sure he'll be racing some at Shawano. He's still going to race his modified. And Jaden Schmidt, I think he's like 20, 21 years old. Maybe not even that old yet. I mean, he started racing at IM State Sport Mod when he was 14 years old. I actually did a story on him a couple of years ago, and his dad told me when Jaden started racing, he had to build extenders off of the pedals so that Jaden could reach the pedals, because he was so young. And he's progressed a long way. I mean, he's won track championships in the sport mod division. Actually, he may have won a track championship his rookie year in the modified at one of the tracks. I'm not sure on that, but I mean, he won multiple features as a rookie in the modified division. So I expect him to be competitive from the get-go. I mean, I've always been very impressed with his racing. It seems like whenever there's a new late model driver in Eastern Wisconsin, there's always a certain sponsor that's on the side of the car, and that's the case this time. Soyber Calf Ranches, and
that guy does a lot for racing.
Yeah, just like Artie Ranta, in your area supports a lot of cars. Soyber Calf Ranchers supports a lot of cars in Eastern Wisconsin. So it's good to see. It's going to be good to see another late model out there.
So what you texted me earlier was Nick Anvelink. There's a new sheriff in town, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding, Nick. He didn't really say that. So I want to give a shout out to the guys down. They had the Racers reunion down in Rochester at Steve Yeage's shop. So a big shout out to Todd Narvison, Steve Yeage. I think Mark Noble had something to do with putting that together. Saw some pictures on Facebook. Looks like they had a great time. Saw a really cool picture. Ron Jones, Rick Eggersdorf, and Mark Noble in a picture together. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I can't count that high as to how many feature wins that is in one picture. But super inspiring that they're doing stuff like that to kind of bring some of the old racers together and kind of keeping that community. So Todd and everybody down there, thanks for all you do. That was super awesome. Hopefully I make it down there one of these years, because I'd really like to. So let's jump into our 3 bold predictions. Okay, so off the board, we did each have one come off the board, not in a good way. You said Jake Tim would win one at Humboldt, and I said Lucas Rodin would win one at Humboldt, and we were both incorrect. Okay, probably our fault. We probably jinxed them. So the standings right now, Bert, you have 16 correct, 18 incorrect. 13 still on the board. You're at 48.5%. I have 11 correct, 25 incorrect. I'm at 31.44%. I got a little work to do. So the rules here is we each pick 3 bold predictions that it has to be something where it can happen or did not happen. Not like it's not an opinion, right? It's like it either did or did not happen. And, we hold ourselves accountable when we're wrong, and we're going to give ourselves a shout out when we're right. But, Bert, let's start with you. What do you have for your first this week?
For my first, I will say weather will force the cancellation of the Illini 100. All
right. Donkey award to Mr. Negative over here. All right, Mr. Negative, Donkey award, because I'm sick of late model races getting rained out. Like that, when you get that wrong, it's like -5 points.
Well,
okay?
I'm sorry to inform you, I already got it right because it's been canceled.
Well, then you can't pick it.
Well, I'm just doing it just to mess with
you. That is horse shit. All right. Did they really?
Yeah, I saw Brandon Shepard had posted something right before we started recording the show, and so then I went to the World of Outlaw Twitter, and yeah, they're expecting heavy rain, heavy winds, cold temperatures, so they
Is
canceled
Florence
it.
still going that you know of?
I don't know. I didn't see anything about Florence.
Okay, they have the Spring 50 this weekend.
Okay.
So that we didn't pick it, right? We didn't pick it
Mhm.
because we kind of basically all kind of assumed, right, that everybody was going to the Illini. But now you might see some people down there. I guess we're not picking it because our picks are already in. But that'll be interesting because now you're going to have things are going to get a little sporty down in Florence. It was going to be
Right.
Josh Rice and James Rice, and that's kind of it. And now you might get some other cars down there now. So on Flow Racing Saturday night, as of right now, there is still late model racing, late model fans at Florence. All right, what is your real first pick? Yeah, dude.
I I will say that we'll stay with Jaden Schmidt. I will say he will get a late model win his rookie season this year.
At least one or one?
At least one.
All right. Because when he gets 4, right, then I don't want that to be a bad beat. Okay. So Jaden Schmidt will get at least one late model A main win this year. Okay. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change it up. See what happens here. Because I was gonna make an Illini 100 pick. Obviously, can't do that. Everybody and their brothers like, oh, Josh Rice gonna win at Florence because Josh Rice is the man at Florence, but not this time. The smooth operator Bobby Pierce gonna win the Spring 50 at Florence this weekend for 10 grand to win. Hold on. If he's there. If he's there. I'm going to put that in there. Because if he's not there, I don't want it to count. So if he's there, Bobby Pierce will win.
Okay. I will go with, and you're probably going to say this is picking low fruit. Well, let me switch gears a little bit. I will say at the Shawano Speedway opener, whenever it is, they will have at least 25 late models.
That would be good. That'd be good. They average less than that on a regular night. So
right.
So that's pickable. That's a good pick. Okay. It's crazy, Bert, because we both have a late model car count pick. Right? Mine's different. Ogilvy, they have 12 maybe or 14 nights this year where they have late models on the schedule. Ogilvy, Minnesota, Ogilvy Raceway. They haven't run late models more than like once or twice a year there ever that I know of. They are going to average. Okay. So when you take all the cars that race there divided by shows, right? They're going to average 16 or more late models over the course of the year. So they might have a couple that had less, right? But they're going to average 16 or more when you take all their late model shows into consideration at Ogilvy in 2023.
Okay. I will go with whenever Shawano opens, the opener, Nick Avalink will win the late model feature.
Todd Frank, get her done. Get her done, Todd Frank. Ron Berna, Jaden Schmidt, anybody but Nick. No, I'm kidding. I like Nick. Low-lying fruit much? Shane Sabraski will win at least one feature in 2023. Is that's too low? Is that too low? I'm not thinking that.
If that's what you want to go with.
That's not even allowed. All right. So I'm going to go with a sprint car pick, kind of a parlay. You can tell me if this is a double point one or not. So there's 2 races this weekend. David Gravel, Brad Sweet, and Buddy Kofoid, the wild card in this. Those 3 will each have at least one podium over the next 2 nights.
I can give you double points if you get that.
All right. Double points it is. So episode 170. It's our golden birthday next week. It's 171A next week. So kind of excited for that. Might know a couple 71s, but always fun talking racing. Anything else you want to add here, Bert, before we wrap her up?
No, just hoping for some warm weather to get rid of the snow.
I'm with you. It's time to go. So I just want to shout out to all the sponsors here. We got Dirt Track Supply, Impact Health Sharing. I want to thank them. Brad Parson, Ag Solutions. We have buyraceshirts.com, Zuli's Race Engines, Dirt Track Supply, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants, and Mason Aaron's Videos. Want to give them a shout out as well. But shout out to all the sponsors. Appreciate those guys kind of helping us out, helping us keep this show going so we can bring you some content each week. Share anything in the comments if you have some stories about these drivers or some favorite 71s or not so favorite. If you have some stories, whatever it may be, anything cool happens, let us know. But as always, I'm Ryan Aho. That is the Bert Lehman. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.